Oh. Play it, can play it straight. Don't look back, don't hesitate when you roll big time. What you want, what you feel, never quit and make it real when you go big time. Oh, hey, listen to your heart now. Hey, don't you feel the rush? Hey, better take a shot now. Oh. Gotta shake it up, what you gotta lose. Go and make your life with the life you choose. If you want it all, lay it on the line. It's the only life you got, so you live it big time. Again, big time watches the show. I don't think it needs an introduction, and I don't think the band itself needs an introduction either. It's like one of pretty much honestly one of the most popular things that came from Nickelodeon, honestly. This film was sitcom that in around 2009 to 2013, and it's a show that truly, in my opinion, holds a special place in my heart. It's a show that I unabashedly love so much. It's a show that really shaped a lot of who I am, actually, believe it or not, and we'll definitely get into those. So I definitely want to do more of One Big Time Rush, and how I did figure to upload ukulele compilations where I sang some of their songs, and you're definitely hear me praise pretty much every song they have on. Like, I freaking love this band so much, and I've always loved their music. But I definitely want to do a little episode ranking where I'm basically going through well, basically, I am going to each season and ranking every episode from the worst to the best. Basically, I'm going to go each season and then basically talk about each episode's order, and then by the end of the season, talk about how I'm going to each episode every season, and then basically investigating the episode along the way, and then ending off with an all episode ranking. And maybe do a little fun bonus videos here and there. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be very similar to how I did my previous episode. If you want on Chuck and Josh and Total Drama and How Much You Mother, which I will still eventually complete and finish at some point. Still need to work on at some point. Well, I'll definitely get there. But all in all, I do hope you all enjoy this. I'll definitely do one more of these episode rankings because I really do enjoy doing these episode rankings. It just seem to be a lot of fun to do. Expect a lot more of these down below, and definitely let me know your thoughts about how much in these episodes down below. Honestly, again, this is just my personal opinion, but I'm happy to talk about shows up to 11, so it's still it's also not time doing it with Nickelodeon shows. So yeah, but anyways, I hope you'll enjoy. Again, I'm gonna go each season in episode order, talk about my thoughts on the characters and episodes it goes through. So I hope you enjoy, and let's live a big time. Now we're going to start with the episode that started all big time audition. Now, since what the show's actually about, it involves four hockey players from Minnesota: Kendall, James, Carlos, and Logan. Four, of course, again, hockey players from Minnesota who get the chance of lifetime. As I think it's really more just James' dream at the end of the day, but these are necessarily for him, and that's a shenanigans they basically go into basically auditioning for Crystal Rock, who in that universe is basically a very popular producer who has a lot of number one hits in the 90s, but had a bit of a lull in the 2000s, and then he wanted to get his big break, get another big break again. And he and Assistant Kelly basically go to a lot of auditions. And the show basically is like has the same like kind of vibes as like Nest Classified, because I think if I remember correctly, yes, it is from the same director Scott Fellows who did Nest Classified and also Giant Test as well. Show actually haven't had a dog in a while actually, but I remember I used to love Giant Test when it came out. Actually, I haven't seen an episode in a while, but it has a very similar vibe with that cartoony aspect to it, and also really overlying on sound effects, which honestly, well, it can be overwhelming. Honestly, if they do rely on sound effects, it can be very. It's used very well, honestly. It can make some pretty entertaining moments. And like, they really do rely on sound effects a lot and music cues all the time, and a lot of things to really like enhance like the comedy and the emotional moments and everything. But they always just do it at the right possible times, and which honestly I always like. Honestly, that's kind of funny when you think about it. Honestly, they don't really show that stuff much actually in this episode. I mean, there are definitely moments for sure, but it isn't really shown actually, which is kind of strange. But again, you introduced all the little guys, and you guys see like who they are as people. With Kendall being the leader, who always gets pep talks. James being like the self-assessed model and everything, and the only impressionable thing of the group. Logan basically being the small one who wants to be a doctor, and Carlos being the level idiot goofball. And honestly, all four guys have incredible chemistry. Like these four really feel like they've just been best friends forever. And if you've seen any from like the tour first day post now, nowadays honestly, they really do like they've been friends forever. And also great performances throughout the show. And even the other characters, like obviously we see like Kendall's mom, Mrs. Knight, who is also a pretty important character and has a lot of horror moments with the cast throughout the show. Katie, who you think at first is going to be like the typical mischievous little sister type of character. In some ways, she still kind of is, but she's a lot more of a welcoming presence, and she's a lot more kind, a lot more just fun. Like she's not basically a common copy of Megan or anything. Like I feel like they pretty much kept bringing the little sister character back, honestly, and some shows have gotten really bad at it. But what comes to his case more wholesome, and the actress that plays it does a great job. And of course, we got Gustavo Rock himself, played by Stephen Glickman, who can be seen as a lot of people say posted with Time Rush nowadays. You can tell he's just a lovable guy, and he definitely does still a good job of playing just a guy who just his only joke is just him yelling and screaming. It's surprising that joke never gets old. And because they always find by the way, I mean, those like when they shoot auditions, they love showing bring a locker watcher. Like that scene gets me every single time. And of course, there's Assistant Kelly, who is definitely a very underrated character. I don't think we get to see her talked about enough. And she does a fantastic job portraying these characters, portraying herself and being like the antithesis to Gustavo. And basically, long story short, everyone performs, and then it goes Kendall, and then James sings, and then Joel has no talent, and then we get Kendall sing the third song, and then basically he wants Kendall to the record deal, but kind of finds the first. The first person to do so, but instead making them together and going to Bombwood. We introduced a lot of characters we end up becoming recurring characters for our show, at least some recurring characters, like the dog, Lucky, who appears in your episodes, Guitar Dude, the Jennifers, and Camille, who was played by Aaron Sanders, who played Quinn in Zoe 101. Based on the short, the traveling image of man, they end up firing Gustavo and everything, get a lot of hilarious moments. Even fun things that become kind of actually relevant later on with the especially with the discussing Star Wars record, the reference to All Star Christmas becomes like a big dig in a Christmas special later on. Which I always find to be a nice touch on the show. I always thought the show is really so good with its continuity a lot of times. And the show is just very hilarious, like enjoying the back and forth between all the characters and that first day and the feeling and being band the thing and having other touching moments in the third song, which is like all this thing thinking it's I wish I think it was really more. I don't think they used that third song a lot more often in the show, if I remember correctly. But basically, the ending comes the show, and the end thing the theme song Big Time Rush, which is just a fucking banger song. Probably in the be my favorite theme song in any Nickelodeon show, period. Because everyone's supposed to see like the big goals and dreams and aspects of the actual show itself. And the show does a great job of bringing the chemistry. You also get to meet Griffin here as well, who becomes like a big foil for the group, and he's a good job in spite of him that he's kind of like an evil CEO. He's just a fun presence to watch. I think a lot of it really because the charisma of the actor. I don't remember his name at the moment, but he really does a great job of portraying this type of different CEO. He's not really like evil, but he's just really his own way at times, and he did a good job of portraying him as a great football threat, but also having some pretty fun moments with him as well. And you also get appearance when you also get cameo from the short children as well. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot she was a thing. I should listen to a lot of music actually recently. But yeah, for being the first episode of the show, I think Big Time Audition does a fantastic job of stringing. Again, it's weird they don't do like with the cartoon sound effects that they usually don't, which is becomes a big prevalent throughout the show. But it's a pretty good premiere. I think it's definitely one of the best premieres that Nickelodeon's ever done, honestly. And it does a good job of introducing you to the show and what's to come. And there's definitely a lot of good things to come with the show. And we continue down with the next episode, episode 2, Big Time Squirrel Rock. And yes, they always have big time among certain things to do here. And basically, pretty much basically end up going to school, thinking they're going to miss school and everything, which is kind of hilarious. And then we get basically them wanting to go to school, thinking that it's all so great and so lovely, but it's really just their imagination. And then basically, they end up like treating everyone, the teachers to basically leaving everything, and basically try a guy to basically go to another country to basically get his music career done and everything, which is pretty hilarious. Maybe we get bits from WTV star Chris Masters, which is pretty hilarious as well. And then they end up like being girls at school, but they kind of the magic is run wild on that aspect, and just again the show is overall very consistent. I don't think there's really an episode of the show, in my opinion, that really just doesn't fail to judge. I mean, obviously some episodes do, obviously, and some moments do, obviously. But a lot of moments actually end up being, this episode's still very consistently hilarious, honestly. And also the subplot does kind of drag a little bit, where basically you see Katie basically one of the main, basically wanting to go to school herself and trying to homeschool her, but it's like, yeah, that's not working as well, and she has to go to like do a commercial, to get to the school. And at least we can function with that, obviously, but again, soap operas are also kind of very hit or miss sometimes with the show, obviously, depending on what the episode is and everything. I don't think like Tool does. Obviously, just somewhat better than others. And overall, not much super episode like the first episode, but so it's probably gonna go below it honestly, but still not a solid episode. Not sure how it's gonna make any actual ranking, but I still enjoyed it. But we definitely get another great episode with Big Time Crib, which basically seemed boys being exhausted over everything, and I think having to go to and not liking that hotel apartment too, Jay. I'm saying and they try and then when they found they're going to be like this big set that they're going to, they try to have to trick into being into that apartment so they can actually have the set themselves. Especially when it's like very cool colors and everything, and also swirly slide, which that's gonna a common joke and thing throughout the entire show. And Sean saying the shenanigans go to here, and it's what really truly see the Camille shining here, obviously, and also him thinking her crush about Logan. Oh, Logan's so good, so fresh, everything. It's so hot. Yeah. Well, Camille's a great character, and it's like Anna Sanders, I think, is actually a pretty underrated actress, and she definitely showcased the craziness that's the character here. But saying she has like so many other fun moments throughout, and she has great chemistry with all the guys, especially with Logan. Looking at a lot of shenanigans goes on, and we also see the ones on James's bed, the anime thing, which Chris actually was in a lot more episodes of this show, honestly, but when it means, when times that does, obviously, it's still pretty hilarious. Just, yeah. Again, the episode is very consistent hilarious what they're trying to basically do a music video for show. To probably still like 200, like the 100 or 200-year-old CEO, if I remember correctly. It's not like 17. I hate to say it, but he's pretty much very old, honestly. And like I said, we see a lot of shenanigans that go with everything, and then the end of despite the fact that the end of turning unsaid, the end, like you said, by the end, I'm saying tricky stuff. Actually does like the guys by the end of the day. And again, overall, another good episode. Good episode. It's definitely better than the last one. I'm not sure if I would say it's better than the premiere. I probably was still a little below, to be honest, but it's still not a great episode. But now we get to an episode that's definitely top of the list so far, and that's Big Time Bad Boy. Episode you could probably expect to be high up on my overall ranking. I think this is the episode good. I think this is the episode that really cemented. And first of all, we get a CP of the song City Hours, which is a song that's going to have its own episode we'll get into. Obviously, and then Strawberry to say, hey, I want a bad boy. We need a bad boy and all that stuff. And he had a lot of bad boys from his previous bands and everything, a lot more involved in that. All that stuff. And we see, seeing the guys basically trying to be bad boys is just so hilarious and charming. We get some of Griffin's best moments here as well. And some horrible moments from Gustavo, obviously. We also get this guy named Wei, obviously, who's a pretty full-time character. I'm surprised it didn't appear as often as a show, honestly, but when that appears, honestly, he definitely makes an impression for sure. And he and Kendall basically tries to be the bad boy, honestly, and he does some hilarious stuff. And that whole bad boy off thing is just one of the most funniest sequences in the entire show as a whole. And then we get a fun subplot, obviously, from Kendall's Kay's mom trying to basically have Kay have a friendly Molly. He's like, I don't like her. And then I was like, you shouldn't judge the person on getting to know them. And then they see the handyman named Bob who ends up doing these ridiculous and scary things. And then basically thinks he's like a maniac. Also, the guy Bob was played by Darren Norris, who, of course, is the guy known for playing, Timmy's dad and Vale Parents, and also Goldie from Classified. And Darren Norris is a pretty incredible actor. I don't know because of his voice and how he is, but he's always such a fantastic actor with his comedic presence and his comedic timing as well. I think it's actually a little underrated when it comes to that aspect, honestly. And I just love lots. And he just continues bringing that with Bob, who honestly is probably in the be my favorite supporting character in the entire show. Also, I should mention I mentioned Mr. Bitters, who was played by John Michael Higgins, who's another incredibly underrated actor as well, and who one that was he does obviously very bitter because he's Mr. Bitters. Mr. Bitters. But he does do a great job with the character he portrays, honestly, and they give him a lot more human elements, a lot more fun elements in the episodes and seasons, so you do a really great job in them by the end. But again, definitely going on top of the list for sure. And now we get another excellent episode here, and that is Big Time Love Song. And that is we are introduced to Joe, played by Kaylin Tarver, who Tarver, how is that? Hope I'm not naming her absolutely. Williams got a major love interest for Kendall throughout the rest of the season, and for this one episode, which basically, but we'll get into that when we get there. And the first introduction was definitely pretty great, and great, and we see different interactions with everyone trying to be like different people and everything to like impress her, but then someone's like, I should be myself. Let's get the first appearance from Freight Train, who unfortunately doesn't come out prominent character like only in this season, and then you'll appear like one more appearance in season 2, and we don't see him after that. Which one? Because honestly, he's just pretty hilarious throughout the show. He has just so many like funny moments throughout. And then basically throughout the episode, Gustavo is tries to like find like slow lump sum, but he can't really figure out like everything. He can't just find the perfect thing to it and all that stuff. And we get the first two signs of his interactions with Katie, who are having a finished relationship throughout the entirety of the show. Obviously, and get some funny interactions involved in that as well, and also between Trampus Gilman using his like man's by better scooter, but ends up getting a good interaction. I think I believe there's also the first piece of Doc Hollywood as well, who's also a pretty fun supporting character as well. Who ends up having some another character that just has so many hilarious moments and some fun aspects throughout the entire season, which again we'll get into those episodes. But he just has like so much charm to him that just puts a big grin on my face. Again, the show really, my show really excels when it comes to the supporting cast. As you probably can tell, I pretty much love the majority of the supporting characters. I do good work with some of them, and if you realize some of them pretty well, you know some of them don't end up appearing later seasons. But when they're down, like, they are just fucking knocking out the park. Barking and basically stopping the song when the guy was singing the song, and the song's called Any Kind of Guy You Want, Girl, that's the gonna be. Turn myself upside. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Want, girl, you know I'll agree. Turn the whole world around. Yes, I will. Any kind of. Please do that love for this drinking, by the way, guys, because you can tell I love the fucking music from the show. And yeah, it can go never fucking banger, honestly. It's just a very catchy, it's a song, but a very catchy and fun one. It can really sell because, again, the guys just have a natural singing talent, and the songs are just really well composed. Yes, sir, Big Time Love Song, another fantastic episode. Definitely going below Big Time Bad Boy. And then we got another solid episode, obviously, with Big Time Mansion, which is basically, we'll see, but basically, the guys end up basing because that was like Big Popular Mansion. And you know what I'm saying? Of course, like always, in like most episodes, they end up like messing things up big time. At one time, Scarlet tries to find a new band and puts them Motron, which are very talented, but even it's like the argument the engine do with them. And then we see K naming that Kendall's growing up, and honestly, and K picking a stomach ache and all that stuff, and it's a fun mansion shenanigans, all that stuff and everything. And there's not much to say about this episode, being honest. I think I'm playing the Brutal Below School Rock, honestly. And we still have a lot there, especially involving this casting and everything, and the winning reporting, and the glorifying interaction with all the girls, honestly, especially Cole's using a sledgehammer to pick a fridge, which is pretty hilarious. Yeah. But honestly, it's going below School Rock and Big Time Crib, honestly. Not really thinking about it, honestly. It's still a great episode. So I'm so excited. Some are better than others, obviously, and it's still a fun episode. Just don't have too much to say about it. You know, they kind of feel similar to next episode, honestly, and that is Big Time Photo Shoot. Hang on, clarify. Like, I don't think I don't think there's really any bad episodes of the show, obviously. They're probably just something I probably just enjoy and rewatch more than most, obviously. And there's also another fun episode. Like, I feel like I remember all these episodes of feeling because I used to rewatch them all the time growing up. Since I remember certain moments vividly, some moments just random cut in my head, honestly, but that's what happens. But basically, this is kind of like, I feel like more of a filler episode where basically the girl on the photo shoot. It basically starts with them being cold open, or they end up being like so bruised up and beaten up and everything. And then it turns out they're actually taking the photo shoot out being on the walls of millions of girls and everything. But, yeah, I can go find bones well now. Basically, in the taking the photo shoot with everything's kind of Marcos, who I only pick up episodes, honestly. It was a pretty fun presence for his episodes, honestly. And then basically, Scravo and basically Kelly getting arrested for destroying Matthew McConaughey's mailbox. Because the honestly, Scravo has like a weird thing with Matthew McConaughey. Honestly, that's referenced a few times about the show. That's pretty hilarious. And the fun business of honestly was pretty fun, obviously. And then Griffin tries to change the space from outdoors, which is a weird concept. And you try to get that picture and everything for the guy to come here. And then we get this like, okay, pretty decent subplot involving Kate trying to meet up with Dax Evon, who's almost a parody of Zac Efron, obviously. And we see this girl like I mentioned as Dax Evon. So I had to do that. Which is pretty hilarious throughout the. It's still a pretty good episode, honestly. I just probably watch more until it's more, honestly. So I'm not sure where to rank this. I think I'll put it above the last one. I think I'll probably put it between first and last one, because I think that's a few more funny moments. Not sure how it's going to be an actual ranking itself, but still another good episode. Yeah, now we get to another great episode, and that is Big Time Break. And it's real showcases the individual of each of these characters. This is that one episode I also rewatched a lot, honestly, and one of the ones I watched the most, if I remember correctly. But basically, everyone's like tired of hanging out with each other, and they basically go on their own adventures. Kendall basically tries to impress his girl Chills by him saying that she had a boyfriend, which she basically admitted in the Big Time Wilson episode that Kendall also stopped fighting with her, stopped fighting for her and everything and all that stuff. I found out that she was actually lying about that, and then Kendall trying to basically, be him on her honestly, and which is a lot of confusion involving everything, and Joe having a big boyfriend, and it leads to a lot of weird stuff, and they end up dating apparently. Even because, like, I don't really get the whole tease thing. And again, this real case, yeah, also, anytime I come and Kate have like a fun, also, Kendall Kate is always just so wholesome and fun when I looking back on it. Like, they probably have one of my favorite brothers siblings I've ever seen in a show, honestly, because they're always like so caring and so welcoming towards each other, but also having like fun bantery moments as well. Again, they just have a great natural sibling chemistry. Not actually siblings, but they work very well with each other throughout, and this is something like fun, wholesome moments throughout the show. And showing how much Kate and Kate and they do many moments we'll see that Kate does really care for his brother and does try to help him out and everything. I mean, we're definitely get a lot more of those moments, but I just want to point out. But as of the other, obviously Logan basically tries to go to a all-girls school and has a dressing like a girl and everything, which because again, I have like a learning show while someone dressing up like a girl. I think that can always be very common in those learning shows, especially these type of shows nowadays. Yeah, I think that's probably the weakest subplot, honestly, but even still fun, obviously. But you want to definitely watch more hand teaming, obviously. We got James trying to do his acting career and having some back more Camille throughout the show. Obviously, where he basically tries to be a fun actor and everything, and then ends up kind of getting a role. And Bennett would obviously they show how much caring James is as an actor, and then it's like, yeah, I think it's part of Camille, which really gives more James like more caring side on it. So that I really do appreciate. I think my favorite one is obviously Carl's obviously when he ends up losing his helmet, which basically is one of his buying features is that he just loves that freaking helmet. It's good. I don't know why, but it's just so. That's probably why. Well, that just really just hits him a little bit. Like, being like upset, having like so titch over an aspect, and he really just loves that helmet and gets so many comedic moments well in that helmet, especially later on in the show. And you're gonna get appearance from Eric Estrada, who ends up basically playing Carlos's dad. Again, he literally steals the show, obviously, especially when the actors were bitter throughout the show. And turns out Lightning would end up stealing all that, end up basically stealing the helmet and a lot of other stuff from Palm Woods as well. Yes, so yeah, another great fantastic episode. I think I'm probably going to put it. Where do I rank it? I think I'll probably put it above above around my top two, which is so far Bad Boy and Love Song. So I'd say it's like number three when it comes to this episode so far. But again, another fantastic episode. And we get to another episode I rewatch constantly. I feel like I did about every episode, honestly, but there's another one I rewatch episode where basically it's a culmination of a lot that's going on, honestly, where he ended up having a big, well, it's the day where they had to pick the demos and everything, obviously, and that's just between Big Time Rush or some man getting a vampire, because vampire is kind of still a thing. And basically going to get the appearance of Mercedes, who basically is like Griffin's daughter, who, like, an shot actually didn't appear the show very often. She actually could have been actually an interesting character. We only see her one other time after the show, and well, fortunately doesn't appear more out there, which is kind of disappointing actually. I feel like she should have been an interesting character actually, but she basically kind of like spoiled and everything. Obviously, like I said, she's Griffin's daughter and everything, and basically take advantage of her being the one that picked the demos, and then we get a lot of crazy involved in that where they end up pretending to be her girlfriend and everything. It was a lot of fun shenanigans and everything, but when she tells her off and everything gets over, she ends up admitting she wasn't, and ends up being like a freaking chimp. So it gets a fun later on, obviously. In one moment, you can't tell that there was an invention that happened trying to get that monkey, but Dylan's kind was like, what was going on? And a long story short, honestly, they try to convince the champ. Kind of doesn't work, obviously. Kind of a pirate, but until he's like, hey, I think you should pay too much on the conveyor about it, and explains a lot of trouble and everything, and then, like, wow. And he ends up making mistakes and everything, and then he ends up singing the song halfway there. Which was one of my freaking jams going on. Again, you'll probably hear me say that for a lot of Rush songs, as we get into, obviously. I can't understand how much I love it. love the music, honestly. Like the music really, yeah. I got into the show around the time sorry, I got into the show around the time I started to get into music myself. Because I got into like around 2010. That's around the time I got more into music. I got more involved into music, and I got more involved into songwriting. So this show really has me a lot because it really influenced a lot of my love for music and a lot of my love for the genres and this and that. And I used to start jamming out to these songs so freaking much. And Happy Day is another one of those songs. Cause I feel like it's one of those like big upbeat anthems on, so that really works very well actually. And in the end, you can get fun to do like a full hour and everything. And we also get some fun side plot stuff, obviously, where basically Kay's mom basically Mrs. Knight basically ends up doing a job, obviously, trying to renew their lease and trying to fit this thing, obviously. Miss Bit tried to basically give her the worst job imaginable. But then after they just got renewed, and then he was recording everything. It's like, I gave you about myself. What room? 3B. And it's bad. And it kind of was like, Kendall's like, I think we are home, which is. But another latest episode, I think I'm going to put it about the last one. And we get to another fun episode with Big Time Party. Another one I also watch constantly, but basically pretty much done a good episode of party, but inside them not have a party at a social gathering because they're all on like strikes, 2 strikes, obviously in 3 strikes, and they're getting kicked out. And then basically they end up doing, actually wanted to do so obviously and everything. When it comes to party, King's of Punk is the only word and everything. I don't remember the exact thing he said on TV. And the girls look at his phone like a little line. Like, you said party twice. That he did. It does come in fun and curly lines throughout the entire show. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things about, and that's one of my favorite things about the show. And then we get some fun one little interaction about certain things where basically, we get about a little bit between Kendall and Joe, and between five finds the common, obviously, and trying to find common ground and being a couple and everything. And then long story short. They end up finding some common ground when they actually try to trick Mr. Bears into not finding the pie when the pie ends becoming too big when Kellos accidentally fights everybody on the phone, which is hilarious. Obviously, even though Joe obviously hates hockey and everything. But yeah, it's just hilarious. And then we also get the start of the relationship between Logan and Camille, who obviously is hinted throughout these last few episodes throughout this season that Camille kind of think for Logan, who is a little crazy. And then Logan finds out he actually Mercedes still in love with Mercedes for the last episode, which I like the comment here actually. And it basically shows him trying to enjoy both dates and everything, getting caught, and he still ends up with Camille. Not too much to be honest, honestly. We also get a fun side plot episode because we get the CEO again, and then that party kind of sucked, and then there was going to the other party, obviously. Which again, another pretty fun episode, obviously, and not too much to see beyond that, obviously. I would say I put it around. I would put it around the middle of the list. And now we get to big time jobs, which I think is another solid episode. I'm thinking it's not one I don't really have too much to say about, if I'm being honest. So I'm just gonna say that way. It's probably going towards the bottom of the list, honestly. But it's because I hate it. It means honestly, it's just one episode. I just don't have too much to say about it. Honestly, it's still a fun episode. Obviously, we're basically. Sean and Kelly are tired. I'm doing basically ranking everything. So you have to get the job prepared $2,000.30. Obviously, and we basically see Kendall. Basically, Kendall Logan trying to babysitting service. We had them seeing Carlos becoming a assistant, and ends up accidentally destroying his coffee maker. Obviously, with that more foam, and then James trying to get him out of the job with one of his favorite job. He also gets this fun side thing where basically he tries to talk himself in the mirror, which again is a pretty fun side thing to do in this episode, honestly. And we also see more his back for Katie, which is pretty nice, and then. Basically, they end up getting the money, but with all the shenanigans, they end up owing more what they owed, honestly, which is kind of hilarious. And then we get to find more Cal basically destroys everything, and then Griffin sees them, and then yeah, again, it's kind of hilarious if you think about it. But again, it's only not a bottom list, obviously, because I just don't have too much to say about it. It's still a fun episode, but it's not going to be super memorable aside from the ending and grand theme of things. If that makes any sense. And now, blogging, honestly, will say very similar to big time blogging, obviously, which I'll probably put above the last one. Basically, something involved in this episode, basically, they talk to this blogger about trying to get their album on their name. Obviously, we get this fun training sequence. Obviously, we're gonna mess it up big time. Obviously, we used that a lot in this video already. And then he doesn't end up liking them. They end up trying to stop it and everything. And then, basically, a lot of shenanigans do. They end kind of very nice and friendly towards him, which leads to him actually changing their mind on them. And then Discover basically installs the capital Belgium, which is capital Belgium, by accidentally typing the wrong tweet and everything. So again, I don't have much to be honest. I think I'm still gonna put up. I'll probably put up at the last one though. Yeah, you got 6 more episodes to go for the season. Now we get to another favorite episode of mine, Big Time Terror, which basically is the Halloween episode. Obviously, where basically Gustavo mansion's flooded and he ends up having to stay with the dogs. And we find out Gustavo actually, hadn't really had much fun, obviously, which is kind of funny thing, obviously, that they actually kind of don't love him that much, obviously. It's like, hey, he didn't have much fun, obviously, but it's like, because like, no, don't focus on that. Let's get him back in the studio. We need to find that song and that. It'll be no happen. It's really something I don't really focus on much, obviously. Honestly, in a lot of moments, actually, you can tell that's why I was not really knowledgeable or not having much fun with this and that and everything. So, basically, still a very funny episode, obviously. I mean, it's kind of the usual fan jokes we get from Nickelodeon show at this point, obviously, but it's still pretty funny, obviously. And then basically, Salva ends up like staying along and he's better, even though the mansion is fixed, obviously, and then I'm trying to get him out of it and get him to come back around, just tell him to leave and everything. And we get this like ghost hunt Powerwoods where we see Kendall looking Carlos trying to prove real, not real. And everything ends being the new girl Stephanie that basically ends up being a piece throughout the episode. And then it was still a lot of very funny moments involving that. And they end up scaring Carl home, they write a new song, and that's it. And of course, being introduced to Shaun the Dark here. He introduced you Shaun the Dark, which is another time song that surprisingly it took 2023 to actually, get the full song released. Or at least it took them to finally record the full version of that song, actually. Because I don't think because it was never actually a fully released song from him. I think you also get a look into the song Stark, obviously, which I'll talk about next episode. Yeah, Shaun Dark is even back then was a freaking banger. Even from the Little Week last episode, you can tell the song was just a freaking banger. And again, the song that actually was released on their 2023 album, Another Life. Again, it's kind of crazy actually they actually decided to do that actually. Again, Charlotte is probably a top 5, top 3 favorite Timber songs. It's definitely. I think eventually when I do a favorite Timber song list, obviously, it's definitely going to be on that list for sure. But yeah, Big Time Terror, another great episode. I think I'm going to put it up like between Demos and Break. Again, it's still a really funny anyways episode. With some of Mr. Bear's also funniest films as well. And then we get to another fun episode, which you're probably going to say a lot for this ranking, and it's Big Time Dance, which basically Mr. Marsh decided to do a dance, obviously, because, it was usually a party, but Miss Bears usually is not good at that, but so they decided to have actually an actual dance. They have a club with some doing in the studio, and we get this fun month, honestly, where they try to have this random guy that ends up being this dance instructor throughout the first season at least, ends up teaching him how to dance, which is pretty hilarious. And basically everyone preparing and everything while Logan trying to ask Camille and then end up failing multiple times and then James ends up unintentionally asking a lot of freaking girls obviously. Even a one random girl actually that ends up basically being at the end of a love song obviously, which again shows the great continuity the show has obviously. The kind of love interest is appearing at the very end of a time love song, and so I'm hearing a couple more episodes. Well, it's not much obviously. I do like the continuity at least. And then basically Kendall gets everything ready and then fails poorly to ask girls to dance, even though he assumed they're already together, so there was no need or whatever. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that, obviously. And then Jennifer ends up visiting Carlos to basically go between 3 different personalities, which again is pretty hilarious. And seeing how Carlos really going to go for the Jennifers, obviously. And we've seen Stephanie here for the last episode, who unfortunately is the last appearance, which is pretty unfortunate. I feel like it shouldn't have been a great leverage for Carlos, fortunately. I'm not sure that's something happened or whatever. But it's another fun episode, obviously. Yeah, it's another fun episode. We get a fun performance on stuff like I mentioned, which is most definitely like one of my absolute favorite pretty much, honestly. Again, it's always a pretty good song, obviously. Just one episode filled with so many fun and hilarious moments that just put a big grin on my face, so honestly I'd put it around the middle. Honestly, I'll probably put it around the middle of the list. And we get to an episode I always found to be one of my favorite season 1, and that is Big Time Sparks. It's one I used to rewatch a lot, mostly because obviously I had Jordan Sparks. Yeah, remember Jordan Sparks was like one of the next big names, obviously. I used to do, obviously. Like, I freaking love the music before I found this episode. I was on Battlefield. Battlefield's great, and one step at a time I hear freaking all the time on my jobs, and hell, I freaking saw Tattoo a few times on karaoke. And basically, Jordan ends up going to like Rock Records to basically find out her new song and everything, and then we see everything because it always gets to go love Robinson well and everything, which is definitely a lot of shows a lot of ups and downs, obviously, and then it's got a bit tells them to stay over during this month because they think they're bad luck and destroy everything in touch. And those guys do actually try to stay away. Carlos and Logan trying to become the good Labradoodle. Okay? And then Gandalf basically tries to follow the clue of the pen himself with bad luck. Because he broke a mirror. He also goes, 7 years bad luck. Like, the usual like superstitions. You also get this weird subplot, basically. A lot of the instances, obviously. Kendall ends up having to do something that's kind of romantic with Jordan, and then Joe thinks saying, they're keen on him, which is kind of so funny. Obviously, this was the kind of the first episode of the actual couple. And then Joe thinks that he's trying to be romantic with Jordan Sparks. A lot of misunderstandings. And you also get the subplot where obviously when Mr. Bird tries to get a picture of Jordan still with turbulence. And we get this also a really fun subplot where Scavo and Kelly try to get rid of a skunk in the studio because there's rival Hawk, basically, obviously, who can. It's a great villain. Who's a great villain for the time series. Like, I saw a villain that kind of think will appeal to Bradley from more episodes, but no, I think it only appeals like really 3 episodes throughout the entire show. But generally, those appearances are fantastic. And we get a lot back and forth. Jordan ends up figuring out the song, but Adrian gets out of the way to get rid of the skunk. They catch all the other time in Minnesota. And then they get the song Count on You, which is probably the first duet we get, honestly, where they end up doing a song with Jordan Sparks. And Count on You, perfection. You're not sure why we're breaking this episode, obviously. I think there's no one might also go in the random list, obviously. Still another great episode. Another great episode. I think that Joe stuff, I think, does kind of hurt it a tad bit, but still another great episode. And then we basically get to another fun episode, and that is Big Time Fever. We're basically joking how much of us have said the same themselves for everything, and then we see mostly everybody going through Hollywood's fever. Basically, James basically has tangerine, better with Yakuda. Well, he's not like, mandarin, obviously. Which again, it's very hilarious. And they made the joke, obviously, and they tried to change it by solving it with water and everything. And Logan basically, excuse me, go Holly people. Well, Logan ends up becoming like a very hippie dude, and then Carl basically comes to Jennifer, and one of them end up leaving, and then comes basically with Jennifer's, which is kind of hilarious and everything, which is a lot of craziness. And because I want to stop him, because Holly Fever has basically broken all his bands before, and we get a lot of shenanigans that leads to a lot of craziness that goes wrong with that. And then also sure, Kendall's the one that has gone because he never lost touch with his roots, and everyone's just homesick, and we get just one of the most fun, wholesome moments of the entire show. Everybody is now in the snow, and then everyone's like having fun with everything. And we get finds like Brother Kay trying to start a business, and then trying to play Mr. Biz roles and everything, and a lot of wholesome moments. Again, another one I think is probably just going around the middle list. And now we get to the second last episode of this show, and that is Big Time Video. It's not one that overall I don't have like too much to really say about, but it's still not a fun episode because they actually shoot a music video. And then also on the one side I tried to say Camille and everybody who was leaving because they haven't gotten engaged recently. Especially Camille, who really has gone 6 months, and then Ravana for wanting to move out and everything because of that. And they decided to get a video so that way she can actually, stay in Hollywood and everything. And we also get to Prince of Marcos from the Bullshit episode, obviously, who wants to direct the video, but then we get a lot of fun back and forth and everything, and I'm trying to find directors with friends and everything and all that jazz, and a lot of shenanigans along with that. At least it's a very wholesome episode where we show how the guys really do care about their friends and everything, and we also get the music video Serious Hours, which is a freaking badass music video, and again, Serious Hours, another better Big Time song. And we get okay subs live with Number Spirits showing a new car in the area and everything, which didn't lead to much on to the very end when he ended up stealing the car for the video and then all that stuff. And he ended up giving it to the guys and everything. Again, and then when it's going a little low towards the list, but it's still not a fun episode. Again, it's just one I just don't have too much to say about. And now we get to the finale of Big Time Rush Season 1, Big Time Concert. And I'm just gonna wait. This is the best episode of the season, and definitely one of the show's very best episodes. Truly an excellent episode that pretty much shows great build up to what the show has done so far, which certainly don't really do much on later season, at least comes to the finales, at least from season 2 and 3. But overall, it's a pretty epic finale that showcases what the guys have been up to and how much they have grown throughout the first episode. Everyone preparing for that last concert, everything goes on between them. The first a little bit, it's basically just them trying to prepare for the concert, along with the song "This Is How Someday," which is another badass song. And then Griffin's like, hey, it's too risky. We're going to cancel everything. What? Also another funny guy, by the way. And at least a lot of very emotional heartbreak, obviously, when Roy saying goodbye and going back to Minnesota, Gustavo really missing the guys and everything, and having the forward, like, children both from Ed Pitley, which is pretty hilarious. But of course, very emotional, obviously, and then kind of trying to, like, move on, honestly, because obviously this wasn't actually never Kendall's dream, it was more James's dream and anything, and then James is still very in denial and everything. And we get a lot back and forth with all that stuff, along with seeing Hawk come back, obviously, with his sister Rebecca, who apparently me as one episode actually made a pretty fun appearance and was the as a series of back and forth with Hawk throughout the episode. So we don't see the characters being more often, honestly. But obviously, Scott ends up telling a lot of stuff from Stu and Nancy to buy the guys back, and then we get a moment that basically was kind of like the inverse from the pre-episode, which I really liked. And then that basically trying to get James back when he ends up going back to Hawk. He ends up missing them, he ends up coming back, and we get a lot of craziness around the actual concert. They end up getting kidnapped by Hawk. Everything, trying to ruin Gustavo and everything, and then they end up escaping. We also get a guy called Sebastian, who's also a pretty hilarious one-time character. I forget what the time he says, "What towel, sir?" Again, pretty hilarious. And then going to reach a concert, and he ends up singing "Famous," which is also another banger of a song. And they end up getting a free record deal and a tour and the lyrics and the album. But to showcase it, everybody's like, "We're famous." And it was a good fun comeback because often every episode they end up bringing. Yeah, and then they get up to this old lady that basically that they kind of tricked on with earlier this episode and also in the premiere, which I thought was a nice touch, obviously, and took us through the line "The adventure continues." But yeah, full of so many wholesome moments, hilarious moments, badass moments, just great moments all around. And yeah, a great showcase of what this show and these characters have grown since the first episode. And yeah, it is definitely the best episode of the entire season. Definitely one of the best episodes of the entire show, period. And again, I'm going to post like the actual ranking, how we're going to have season one. But season one is fantastic, honestly. Like, it's a truly effective episode. Again, I don't think it's like a true bad episode. Even the weakest episode of the show, I still think it's still pretty enjoyable. But it's a show that really just knows what it is and really embraces it. Again, the four boys have great chemistry. All supporting characters really do shine here. While some do end up being a little more in the background after this season, there's still fun presence where they're giving. And there are definitely a lot of supporting characters I wish actually were implemented a lot more late in seasons and stuff like that had a lot more potential. But the ones you do have are still great, and they still end up being great throughout the rest of the show. Again, I think it's smile for me to hear. I think it's so hilarious. Again, they really rely a lot on sound effects and a lot of cartoony, wacky shenanigans. But it knows when to actually have wholesome, heartwarming moments when it needs to. And again, I'm probably going to keep saying this when we get to the other seasons. The music's starting to kick ass here. Like, definitely some of the best music Nickelodeon has ever done, period. Might be a little biased by saying that, but that's just me. But yeah, season one is great, obviously. Great 18 episodes, and now we get season two, which has 27 episodes. Again, when it comes to two-part, by the way, when it comes to two parts, I'm actually going to include them as, whole hour at least. And I'm also eventually going to talk about the movie as well. I'm going to include it as its own section as well. So, we get there, though. But anyways, let's get into season two.